This week's Inside EVs podcast is brought to you by Electrify America, and we're so happy to be partnering with Electrify America until the end of the year. With Electrify America, you can drive your EV from coast to coast with more than 650 charging stations nationwide and new locations opening every week. Electrify America is bringing EV drivers the freedom they need. Whether you want to plan a weekend getaway, maybe you're off to see some friends or relatives, maybe it's a coast-to-coast road trip. You can ask our Kyle about how that's done using Electrify America charging stations. Well, you can rely on Electrify America's ultra-fast chargers to get you back on the road faster. So, where will you go charging on Electrify America? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what your plans are for this weekend, and tell us where you'll go next. And you can learn more at electrifyamerica.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Inside EVs podcast for November the 26th, 2021. This is episode number 86. Bienvenue from Montreal. Our topics today, new Kia Niro EV debuts, Ford and Rivian have scrapped their joint vehicle plan, and the Polestar 5 is previewed. I'm Dominic Chioni, Inside EV's forum moderator and Inside EV's editor. Joining us today is the sagacious Tom Malogny, Inside EV's editor and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. We also have the magical Mr. Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast, which of course is available on all the best podcast platforms. And of course, Kyle Connor joins us from the majestic halls of Out of Spec Studios. He also puts together shock and awe videos for the Inside EV's YouTube channel. Okay, so before we get going, I'd like to ask that you please subscribe to this show. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button and ring that bell icon for notifications. If you're watching us on Twitch, you can also ring that bell icon for notifications. All right, so with that out of the way, welcome everybody. This is like a sort of the first of the holiday season editions, I think. Most of us, I guess, enjoyed a lovely Thanksgiving yesterday, except for Martin, who spent last week on vacation, and I'm on vacation actually now in Montreal in this little Airbnb place. It's super tiny, and yeah, and I think more of us are going on vacation soon. So anyway, this is right at the beginning of the holiday editions. But let's talk about what we've been driving. I don't know who wants to go first. Kyle, were you driving anything this week?
To be totally honest, I don't remember what
day of the week it is.
Yeah.
Some of us had a good Thanksgiving, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. But also, so did we talk about the ElectraMeccanica Solo EV that we drove?
We did not.
Oh, well, let's talk about that at least, because it's hard to remember. So I got back from Los Angeles earlier this week, and yeah, then Jordan and I drove ElectraMeccanica Solo EVs around Los Angeles. We had a blast. It was really cool. And then I don't really have much to say. This is a single-seater electric vehicle that's rear-wheel drive, but it's fully enclosed, has heat and air conditioning, which is pretty impressive. About $18,000 and a bit starting price before tax credits. It's technically a motorcycle, so I think it gets the $2,500 tax credit. Yeah, pretty neat. Just wish it had two seats, but honestly, build quality was better than expected. And yeah, they were actually really fun to drive around. I was pretty impressed overall.
Handling dynamics were fine?
Oh, not good. Really bad.
Oh. But you were in fear for your life, right?
I mean, are you really having fun unless you're a little bit fearful? No, I mean, it felt relatively safe-ish. Yeah, like when you really chuck it around, it's like, okay, that's not so great. But like just to like zip around a city and something small, it's neat. For me, I'd still take a motorcycle every time. But if it's raining and I want this weird thing to drive around, or here in Colorado in the wintertime, like it actually has some use cases. And yeah, I mean, they were trying to pitch it as like people will put branding on this thing, and that's how you'll use them for fleets, and you'll want to use this to promote your stuff. But honestly, I think people just laugh at you when you drive it. So I'm not sure that's the best business decision to put, like whatever it is, this laundromat down the side, like come do your laundry here. It's like, it's silly. I'm never going there. But I had a blast because we made a lot of people smile, ripping them around. We had 3 of them going crazy through the streets, and honestly, you can drive like a complete idiot in this thing and no one will ever care because they just, wow, look at that idiot driving around in this thing. But really, actually built well, not crazy fast, but enough to have fun. No ABS, traction control, stability control, which I think is its real main safety problem. But heat and AC, it has 2 different coolant loops for the rear power systems, and then the front HVAC controls for the cabin. It's pretty well thought out overall.
All right, cool. I don't know what to say to that except.
Well, I know they won't be hiring Kyle to do their commercials.
Oh yeah, I know.
People will laugh at you as you drive down the street. They'll be saying, "Look at that idiot."
Yeah, you'll never want to go to that business.
I'm slightly let down because you love weird cars, and
yes,
there's no weirder car that we'll talk about on the show this week than this. And you should be a raving fan of this thing.
I am.
You love stupid stuff.
Yes, it's all good for me. I love it. I'm so into it. But you have to understand, there's compromises with weird cars, which is usually other people are not into them. Like I see a brown Volvo wagon drive by my house. I'll stop everything, run outside, take a picture. Wow, that's so cool. Everyone's like, why are you doing that? Same thing like this. Wow, look at that 1-seater weird mobile going down the street. Everyone's like, oh, that guy's an idiot. Why would you be interested? So I think my personal perception is this is the coolest thing because it's so bad and weird and compromised in many ways. And normal people may not get it.
Is it in series production yet? Are they actually seriously making them, or are they still hand building the odd few?
So they're made currently in China, is my understanding, and like quite a few of them. And then in Mesa, Arizona, they're putting in a like full production line and engineering facility. They're going to bring out the next generation version, and this all happens next year. So the early ones are going now. But if you're thinking about getting one, I think you wait for one of those Mesa cars because it sounds like they're going to be making some serious changes to them as well. I just think they put really my only issue with it, 2 issues, no 2 seats in the vehicle. And I think the front end is a little too serious for what it is. Give it a little bit of like an ID3 face, something with some personality. Make it happy. I don't know.
Yeah, to me, it looks like a 90s Fiat from the front to me, but. And that's not a compliment. It just, the front doesn't look enough to then when you come around the side of the car to wonder why it's missing the back half.
Yeah, someone just commented that I should ride in a Citroen Ami, and I really want to. So Martin, I'm gonna go visit you and ride in yours.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can next time you're over or wherever, even if you come back to Norway.
Going on a road trip in it. It might take a long time.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you've got to come and play with one.
So this is a Canadian company. And while I'm in Montreal, I noticed actually the cars here are small. It's like so different from being in Tallahassee, Florida, where everyone's driving like a crossover SUV. Or, here.
You're not seeing Suburbans on every corner in Montreal, are you?
It's like, small cars, Fiat 500s. I saw a Nissan Leaf Street Park just around the corner here this morning. So I thought that was kind of neat. I need to see I'm curious how they do the charging thing here. I'll check that out while I'm here. So this is a Canadian company. So I don't know. Maybe I'll see some. I saw some Tesla Model 3s on the way here actually too. So what I was going to ask, they do have another car with 2 seats, I believe, Kyle. Right? Did they have that on display there? See, sort of a knockoff, a kit car of a Porsche 356.
They have it's called the E-Roadster or something like that. By the way, you're talking about Montreal. Did you know I brought the first Model 3 to Montreal ever?
Oh, really?
This was years ago. I brought it up there. We had a whole meet with everyone interested in the car. They all came to look at it, and it was pretty cool.
I was surprised. I think I saw like 3 or 4 like on the bus coming from the airport. So
they're everywhere there. Everyone drives a Tesla in Montreal, and their cabs are all electric there, I think. So you'll see like a fully electric Soul EV cabs, Model X taxis, and then they have a giant charging hub to charge up all their taxis. It's really cool.
Oh, sweet. I need to check that out then. Yeah. So this is the other car we have up on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube or Twitch. I love this. I saw one of these actually. I don't know if it was a kit or the original car when we were in California. Like this lady was driving, and it's like, okay, that's cool. It looks so good in person.
That's probably the real deal if you're driving around Southern California.
Yeah, but I would drive this. I would, yeah, I really love this design. It's
I
just,
love it too, but I would never want it powered by electric. I want the original compromised engine, manual transmission. Give me the legitimate experience. You're spending 150 grand. It's not a daily driver. It's a car with so much heritage, and the original 4 cylinders in these were very slow. I mean, it's not amazing, but that's part of the experience, in my opinion. So
yeah,
I can't get on board with this one.
You want
that's okay.
You want the smell, the drama.
Yeah, that's the point.
You know, you don't want it. You don't want it with a modern synchromesh gearbox or electric power or anything with a catalytic converter. You want it absolutely.
You want it straight pipe emissions out the back, baby. Now, here's the deal: there are certain cars that are not known in their heritage for their engines. This actually being one of them. The engine was never the highlight of this car, but I still think it's a little bit sacrilege to rip that out. Keep that one legit. But then there's other cars like, there's someone just did a Series 2 Land Rover Defender and like a legit Land Rover before they were even called a Defender. And those engines were all garbage. So yeah, make that electric. That's awesome at that point.
That was a Tesla conversion, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
I think I retweeted that.
I lost my mind when I saw that. I said, that is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. I remember, Jack from EVTV did a couple of these Porsche conversions, and he used like a smaller AC motor, right? And he left the shifter in. So it's not the same thing, but it's still not like a supercar or, super performance. It's just, nice and relaxed and sprightly, I would say. And I have no problem with that. I don't mind being sacrilegious with my Porsches, but I do get that that experience thing with the old motors and trying to get as much out of them as you can. All right, so Tom, how you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling great. I'm in the middle of a two-parter with my family. We do Thanksgiving at one house, then the next day I have a whole nother giant meal at another family member's house. So I'm only 50% of the way through this. I couldn't do like Kyle and just, burn out last night, or I wouldn't be up for today. So I had to leave some room in the tank. I hope all the followers out there had a good Thanksgiving yesterday, those here in the US. I know I did. Sounds like Kyle did also. I know Dom did. He was flying up to, or he was in Montreal. So, it sounds like we all had a good time over here. But so, yeah, I was busy last week. Actually, I was out in California. I didn't go to the LA Auto Show, though, because I had a bunch of other things lined up. I left that to Kyle and seemed like he had a good time there. But I had a good time.
But I also got to see you there, which was
great. Yeah. And I have I don't even know if you know about this, Kyle. I have a really funny story. Maybe I shouldn't even tell this, but
No, tell it now. We got time.
Do you know what I'm talking about or no?
No.
Okay. So remember the one that we're at the Intercontinental, we're hanging out with Seth from Electric.
I know about this. We stuck him with the bill.
So we're hanging out with Seth from Electric, and Kyle's there with Jordan, and
and Abe was there with us too.
Yeah, but he got his own bill.
Oh, okay.
You and Jordan just kind of, we're all sitting down and eating. I didn't eat anything because I had just eaten before we got together, and I didn't know we were going to get together there, and everybody had dinner, and so Jordan gets up and leaves. Kyle's pounding some beers. And he's like, all right, guys, I'm done. And he gets up and he goes to his room. And I could tell he's like kind of stumbling a little bit. So I didn't really realize what was going on. So then the waiter comes over and brings Seth from Electric the bill. It's like $240.
Yeah, I talked to Seth about that.
And he looks at me and he goes, what am I supposed to do with this? I go, guess you're supposed to sign for it. He goes, yeah, but these are your guys. I go, they ain't my guys. Because you work with them. And I'm like, dude, that's on you.
Hey, we gave him our room number at the start, and we were like, yeah, this will just get, charged to our room, and we'll square up. And I guess they didn't get the hint, and so Seth paid for it, which I already talked to Seth about that. So it was really funny. We had a nice laugh at breakfast the next morning.
We were all there with Porsche. So Porsche was paying the bill anyway. So I'm like, dude, like, it doesn't matter. Like, Porsche's paying. He goes, yeah, but they're going to think like I threw a party on their bill. I go, they don't care about that. So the next morning we're walking out, and actually I was there with Calvin and Seth, and we're walking out, and I look to Calvin. I go, Calvin, listen, I hate to be a jerk, but I saw Seth last night at the bar. He was with a couple chicks. I think they were hookers. I said, I said, you might want to take a look. And I said it low enough where Seth could kind of hear me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And he looks over and he's like, dude, you're not going to do that to me, are you? And I'm like, no, I had already told Calvin ahead of time that, I said, look, this what happened last night. We put our bill on Electric but Seth's looking at me like, because he doesn't know Calvin as well as Kyle and I do. Me and Kyle know Calvin really well. I mean, Kyle even more than me, and I think I know him really well. So we could fool around like that. But it was funny. We had a good time. So anyway, I'm out there with Porsche to drive the new Taycan GTS Sport Turismo. Drove it about 200 miles, and then drove the Taycan GTS sedan on Willow Springs Racetrack. Porsche rented Willow Springs for us for the afternoon, and that was a blast. Can't talk about it. Embargo still on driving impressions. So
Tom,
that's a
Talk
huge
about where you
tease.
drove, though.
What's that?
Can you talk about the route you took and all that stuff?
I don't know. That's driving. I drove the car, through a very mountainous, windy road. The scenery was great. So I don't know, Kyle.
Maybe we shouldn't say, but I can say because I didn't go on that program. But it's a road that I drive very often when I review cars in Los Angeles, and it's one of the best.
Yeah. The whole experience was great. So those embargoes are coming up soon. You'll get to see that. It'll be up on Inside EVs. I'll have one video and one just regular written post. So great time.
We talked about the Porsche GTS last week a little bit, and it looks so good. Oh man,
I thought
that Sport Turismo. Yes,
really, and it's a sweet spot in the line up of Taycans, which is Kyle is actually the one that said that first. It fits between the 4S and the Turbo price wise, and it's really the performance version. Like if you're a real driving enthusiast, this is probably the version that you want if you really want to take it on the track and so forth. So keep an eye out for those reviews. They're coming up soon.
Sweet. So last week we talked a little bit about the Lucid Air charging. Let's see, but you've done the post for it now, and you've put up the charging graphs, and so I guess you're here to tell us this week that it wasn't a scam, regardless of what any conspiracy theorists say. Want to give us the goods, how it really charged? And
so the video's up on Inside EVs. I have the whole 0 to 100% video. I popped on some charts and some graphs. As soon as I plugged in, bang, 271 kilowatt. Like in I think 15 seconds, it's at 271 kilowatt. We climb up over 300 kilowatts. First time we've seen 300 plus kilowatt. It only holds that for a couple of minutes. It bounced between 303 and 304 kilowatt. You can see, there's the charging curve there. So it only held around 300 kilowatt for somewhere till about the 20% or 18% state of charge point. You see that right at the beginning of the charging curve where it really bangs that. And then, it does a almost perfectly linear slope down to 100% charged. We talk a lot about 0 to 80% and so forth. And, from 0 to 80%, it did that in 0 to 60%, did that in 22 minutes. And I'm saying that because that's when you add about 300 miles of range. If you go on EPA range rating, the EPA range rating is 520 miles. I knocked off 20 miles and I said, okay, it's a 500-mile car. We will be able to range test the car very soon. So right now, the only thing we can use when we talk about how many miles per minute is EPA. We don't have anything else. So I discounted it by 20% and said, you know what? We're going to do every 20% of the state of charge is going to equal 100 miles. And then we'll correct that once we do the range test. I'm going to be able to do that in about 2.5 weeks, an official 70-mile-an-hour highway range test, setting it all up now. So if you take a look at how quickly the Air charged, 5.5 minutes, it added 100 miles of range. In 12 minutes, it added 200 miles of range. In 22 minutes, it added 300 miles of range. Now think about that. 300 miles of range. Almost no electric vehicles are capable of driving 300 plus miles. There's only a couple of them out there. And the Air can just add it back in 22 minutes. Now that's if you plugged in at 0%. Most people aren't going to do that. Martin, can you jump back to the chart? That's the time to chart. So that's why I did up here 20 to 80%, which is also 60% of the battery. That happens in 31 minutes. So if you plug in at 0%, you can get 60% in 22 minutes. But that's not, most people are never going to plug in at 0%. So if you plug in at 20%, you'll in about 31 minutes, you'll add 300 miles of range. And it actually will be faster, because if you plug in at 20%, it'll hold a higher rate of charge for longer. It's already starting to ramp down here because the car is you know, I won't say overheating, but it's trying to cool everything down, so it's slowing down the charge rate. So if I had plugged in at 20% rather than 0%, the first 5 or 10 minutes it would have charged at a higher rate. So basically what I'm saying here is half an hour. If you plug in 15%, 20%, in 30 minutes, you're adding 300 miles of range. That's about 4 hours of driving if you're, you know, on a long road trip going about 80 miles an hour. So think about that. You leave your garage with a fully charged battery. You drive for, you know, 4 or 5 hours. Let's say you drive 450 miles out of the range. And then you plug in for half an hour and you're good for another 3 miles. So 30 minutes, you can cover 700 plus miles of range with 30 minutes of charging. And there's nothing out there that can do that right now.
Can I point out as well, for anyone who's maybe even new to the channel or whatever, that this curve here is not the charge curve, is it, Tom? There is no one charge curve. And so just explain a little bit more when you were saying that actually if you arrive at 20% with a warm battery and you plug in, just because the speed on your graph here says 280 whatever, it might actually be 300 because it hasn't gone through that first 15 minutes of extreme charging and cooling and heating. So there's no one definitive charge curve. So just to expand on that a little bit more, that if you plug in at 20%, you may well get the peak rate, right?
Absolutely. Maybe not the peak rate, but probably close to it. So we try to explain this. Kyle explains it. I explain it. It really, there's so many factors that affect the charging curve. The battery temperature, which I made sure was at the right temperature before I plugged in. I preconditioned. The Lucid Air allows you to manually precondition the battery. No other EV that I know of does that. You have to set for cars like Teslas and the Taycan, you have to set a DC fast charger as your destination, and then the car starts preconditioning the battery. The Lucid Air, you can go in, press a button, and for as long as you want, precondition the battery, which is good. But to Martin's point, yeah, when it really depends on battery temperature, it depends on your state of charge. When you plug in at 0, ideally, if the battery is at the optimal temperature, you're going to get the most power. And you're going to see, like, you know, the true complete charging curve. But if you plug in at 20%, you can't just look at the chart at the chart and just cut it out and say, okay, we'll be at that. You won't. It's going to be different depending on what state of charge you plug in. So, you know, that's what makes charging so hard to explain to people. There is no one set way to explain it. It varies. There's different equipment out there. There's different power DC fast chargers. There's not a lot of 350 kilowatt DC fast chargers. So a lot of people might get in the air, plug into a 150 kilowatt DC fast charger. And now the charging curve is completely different. We're going to try to do a complete 0 to 100 charging session on a 150 kilowatt DC fast charger to compare it to. And if I have enough time, I might even do a 20 to 80, a completely new one, to Martin's point, to show people if you plug in at 20%, what the curve looks like. It really just depends on how much time I get with the car in the future when I go back out to do the range test. If I can add an extra day, I'll do a couple more charging tests with it. And one other thing I just want to add, there was a lot of I don't know if you want to call it controversy, but there's a lot of people. There's some people online that say Lucid's a fraud, and that, you know, some YouTube channels that are big Tesla investors and so forth, and Lucid's never going to deliver a car. They're a complete fraud and all this, that, you know, it's vaporware. So when I put this video out, there was one specific site that said that I proved that with this video that Lucid was lying about the size of their battery pack, because when I finished up, it was 134 kilowatt hours dispensed. Lucid's been saying the Dream Edition has 118 kilowatt hour battery, and they've been steadfast with that. Look, That's the size of the pack. It's 118 kilowatt hours. We allow people to access nearly 100% of it, like Tesla does. And we recommend that you don't charge to 100% daily, but that's the size of the pack. But one person picked up on this and said, my video was proof that Lucid's been lying and they're a fraud, that it's really 134 kilowatt hours, because on DC fast charging, is 99+% efficient. There's no charging losses when you DC fast charge. And they pulled up an article that Car and Driver wrote that said that the Model S is 99+% efficient when it supercharges, because Tesla shows on their in-car screen the amount of energy that's delivered to the battery. It doesn't tell you what your supercharging charge losses are. So when Car Driver fully charged it, they said, oh, look, we took in 98 kilowatt hour, and this is a 99 kilowatt hour battery pack. This thing's fantastic. Like, it's only has 1% charging loss. And that's why having a little information sometimes is dangerous. So I proved that Lucid has a 134 kilowatt hour battery pack, not a 118, because there were no charging losses during this high speed charging event. So in case anybody saw some of those things, we're going to follow up with this. I'm doing a lot of research now. I'm getting data from various sources. I even had some engineers from other OEMs that are completely not involved with this reach out to me and be like, Tom, like, I can't believe that this person's saying this. Like, do you need help improving that this is really the case, and that the car doesn't have 134 kilowatt hour battery pack? So I'm getting help
our job to
from
prove
various
it,
sources.
Just let Lucid prove it. I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? We put up the charging thing. They want to say one thing, Lucid says another. Let's just move on. I don't know why it's that big of a deal.
It's a big deal because people are calling me a liar on the internet, not Lucid.
Well, that's a big deal.
I
don't
lied.
know how you could be. It's a totally unbiased test where it's just data. You plug
Kyle,
in,
you didn't see the comments.
and it goes.
My YouTube channel got about 100 comments of people saying, you fraud, you're a shill, you're on Lucid's payroll, all this stuff and everything. So that's why I have to respond to it. Even though I probably don't need to.
That big. I thought you just said it was one guy, one channel.
One guy with a lot of subscribers.
His followers came.
He's got all these naive people following him, his channel, and like believe everything he says. He's like, whatever.
Tom's under full attack over here.
Yeah, Kyle, even people that you and I know commonly that are outside, not even involved in this, reached out to me and were like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, do you need help with this? Showing that like what you're saying is true.
Yeah, I watched the video, thought it was great, and then moved on. I should have read the comments.
I stay away. They're still coming up. It's comical. They're saying you fraud. There's no charging. Don't you understand that your channel's called State of Charge? You don't know that DC fast charging is 99% efficient. And then I just point them to Bjorn's channel, to be honest with you, because he does a good job of showing charging inefficiencies. He goes around. He has the everything hooked up. And he shows even like the Model 3 that he tested, on a 350 kilowatt DC fast charger, I think it was 91% efficient. So it had 9% losses, which is pretty good. The cars that we seem to test, like I just did Taycan, it delivered 94 kilowatt hour, and it has 83.7 kilowatt hour battery pack. So right there, that's 11% lost in the charging station. Like Electrify America, for instance, the stations themselves have charging losses inside the stations. They bill you for that, and they should, because that's power that it's costing them to charge your car. So there's losses there. There's heat losses. When you're charging your car, the fans are roaring, the cooling system's working. There's losses there. All that stuff adds up. And, it usually is somewhere around 10%. With the Lucid, it was 13.4%. It was a little bit more, maybe because
reasonable. You're charging a
higher power. Yeah.
Exactly. Kyle, this is elementary to you, but to people that really don't know about this, and then listen to somebody who cherry picks information and says, "See, this is proof." So, Kyle, they actually made an entire video of it and used my video as proof to show that I'm lying and Lucid's lying.
I heard about that, and I said, well, maybe you should flag it for stealing your video.
I could, but you know what? I don't expose it. I'm not hiding anything. We're right. Go ahead. If you want to make a fool out of yourself, we'll follow up and show you that it's wrong.
So can we talk about that curve really quick? Because I hadn't shared my thoughts yet. It's all great when you compare it to distance traveled, which Lucid's argument in our conversations with them is all people care about. Well, I just want the most amount of power, getting into the battery pack in the shortest amount of time possible. I know I'm not an average consumer. They're really not stressing their battery pack with this charging curve compared to others. So, for example, Taycan, 83 point something kilowatt hour usable. It's a 94 kilowatt hour, 90 something like this, mid 90 kilowatt hour, in gross capacity pack. That will do 270 kilowatts from 0 to 50%. And as soon as it hits 50%, it drops. Now, I'm not saying that the Taycan charges better than this, because in real world, you can go farther in the same amount of time in the air, according to EPA. We still have not tested the car. It might come in way under EPA by like a ton. We don't know, to be totally honest. So at the end of the day, it's a really conservative charging curve for the pack on the car. It's just a big pack. So yeah, stuff 300 kilowatt in there for a short period of time, ramp it down. But like 150 kilowatt at 50% or something like that. Was it 165 at 50%, somewhere around there? It's really not stressing that pack at all.
Yeah, and it's 100 kilowatts at 75% as well, which again is all really sensible. Now, Tom, again, can you just
nice, but it's not mind blowing.
Can you just briefly go carry on? Sorry,
I was just going to say, so maybe there's a possibility it'll get better.
Yeah, they said that they're going to continuously update the charging curve. Who knows? We'll see. And the funny thing is, I did talk to them about this once it was done, because they were monitoring the car remotely, obviously. And it was funny. They had the whole charging curve plotted out. I mean, I didn't use it. I did my own from my data, and we looked at it when it was done. And I said, and I even said, you see where like from 35% say to 70%, I was like, that little part there, we could really, you could really bump that up and drag the higher charge rate a little bit longer.
Middle end right there. That thing just needs.
And so they said, look, we actually could have made a nice flat curve, like say Porsche does, Audi does. They said we could have come in at like 250 kilowatt, let's say, or 245, somewhere around there, and ripped that all the way out to like 75%. It just would have went all the way to like 75% and then started tapering down. And they said, in the end, it would be very close as far as miles added. It might even be a little bit more if we did that, if we lowered the initial charge rate and made a nice straight line. They said, but the reason why we do this is because we don't think people are going to stay at the DC fast charger for as long as you guys do. Right. No one's going to stay here from 0 to 80% or from 10 to 80%. They said, so what we did was we front loaded it. Boom, 300 kilowatts. You could add 200 miles in 12 minutes, pull off and drive away. If we had if we lowered the charge rate, the entire curve would have looked better. But we don't think our customers, especially with such a long range, let's say, for argument's sake, Kyle, and like I said, you're right, we don't know. We'll know soon. Let's say we find out it goes 500 miles, 490 miles, something like that, 30 miles less than EPA, whatever. You'd leave your house with a fully charged battery. You drive it down at, say, 10%. Now you've gone 400 miles. And you plug in for 12 minutes and you're adding another 200 miles. So now that's a 600-mile trip with a 12-minute stop, not a 30 or 35-minute stop. So, and it makes sense. You could argue it either way. You could say that curve should be straighter out, for it looks prettier on here, but for short bursts of power, when you plug in, bang, and you got 15 minutes, this is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, but I guess totally get that argument. That's one side. The other side is, I look at what I see in the real world at charging stations, and I see everyone charging to 85, 90, 95% in their e-trons. Granted, they don't nearly go as far as they do.
That's the thing. They have to.
Well,
they don't go
not
far.
Necessarily. I think people charge more than they need to just for buffer and safety. And I think we're going to see a lot of Lucids charged up to 80, 85, 90% at DC fast chargers. At the end of the day, Lucid will have all the data. They can then see the real world use case of the car and adapt to the curve. What I'm really curious about is what Martin brought up earlier. It comes off at 304 kilowatt peak at right around 26%, somewhere around there, right? Whatever it was low to mid 20s. I want to see the car plugged in there, and then to see how the rest of the curve either adapts, or is it going to be very Tesla style, which is you get X at this percent kind of no matter where you started from. And so we just don't know the variability of the curve because we don't know if their strategy is going to be like Mach-E or if it's going to be like Tesla.
Gotcha. And when I do the range test, I'm going to ask them if they can get me a second car. Or no, better yet, this is what I do, because I want to heat up the battery good before I do the range test. Why don't I ask them for a car with the battery around 20%, maybe a little bit more, and I'll drive it down to 20%, plug it into a DC fast charger, record that, Kyle, right?
Yeah, that's what I would
take
do.
that up to 100%, then start the range test. And then we'll have the 20 on charging curve.
Yeah, that's exactly what we'll need to do. And then if that shows a different curve, then the next time one of us has a Lucid, we'll plug in at that next drop-off point. I mean, that's how I did. I had to do Kia EV6 this way. It took me like 3 days straight to just play around with all the curves. And then, we mapped out the theoretical peak and then what the car allows you to do depending on starting state of charge.
Yeah. Funny thing, Nathan Green just made a comment. 12 minutes is just enough time to stretch the legs and use the restroom.
How come you're smiling, Tom?
I see Martin smiling. Before the podcast, when we're behind and, before we went live, we were talking about how long does it take to pull up to a supercharger, plug in, walk out. And Martin was like, yeah, somewhere around 15 minutes. And I laughed. I said, you want to know how big of a geek I am? When I supercharge with my car, I haven't done this all the time. I'll get out of the car. I'll click my stopwatch on my phone and I'll plug in and I walk inside, I use the restroom, get a cup of coffee, walk back out, and then click it. My average time is 12 minutes, exactly what Nathan just said. I mean, it's as high as 18, 19 minutes. Sometimes it's 9 minutes. It depends if somebody's in front of me online to, buying the coffee and checking out. But it's funny, Nathan, you nailed it. Exactly 12 minutes is what it took me. And that's when I'm using superchargers. They're usually like, in this area, really close to like a convenience store. It's right in the same parking lot. It depends. It could be longer. Sometimes they're in shopping malls. You got to walk, a quarter of a mile to get inside the mall. Yeah. And in that case, you're going to be there for a while. But that 12 minutes with 200 mile really impressed me.
I just think this is one of the reasons why you have to be very thoughtful about the content you consume, because people all say that phrase, do your own research, or I've done my own research, and I've done my research, and I know how batteries work. And like this blogger who set his fans on your channel because he thinks that DC fast charging is 99% efficient. I mean, you couldn't make it up. But if that really were the case, you'd go to school and get a degree in electronic science, then you'd go and do a PhD and a research project in charging. Then you'd go get a job, probably work some years at a charging manufacturer, then probably work OEM side and build some cars, and then you'd be qualified to totally understand how things charge, right? But the next best, if you really are genuinely doing your own research, the next best is listening to people like Kyle and Tom and Björn in Norway, who have deep insight on this. And what you shouldn't be listening to is a guy who sits in his bedroom with a Patreon account talking to Tesla fans, begging them for money at the end of his podcast. Please support me, please, give me your money, watch my adverts and get my AdSense, because he's probably making a killing out of Tesla fans. But it's really dangerous. Like, he's entitled to do that. He's making bank, I imagine, because I know from my experience, I've enjoyed some tech blogs over the years. There's one YouTube channel I can think of that was a tech channel, and they pivoted entirely to Tesla content. And you know what? That's probably because they make a ton of money out of appealing to that community. And they say things that will get them more views and make them more money. But what they shouldn't be saying is that Tom doesn't understand how to charge an EV. So they're welcome to go do their thing in their corner of the internet. But I get really a little bit frustrated when they send, their idiot bottom feeding viewers to come and criticize Tom on his channel. Now, on my channel, I use the delete comment function liberally because it's not a democracy. It's my channel. So I don't allow idiocy in my comments. I know lots of people are purist and let that conversation happen. If I see a moron, or they're using profanity or engaging in an argument for no reason, on my channels I delete that because that's not the community that I want to create. So Tom, if I were you, I'd just delete those. But you know, after a while, you think, well, where does it stop? So a lot of people leave those comments online, but I think it's dangerous to listen to these kind of conspiracy theorists. Plus, they've got most of their net wealth tied up in Tesla shares, so anything that's a threat to that, and I understand that side of it, they go on the attack. But really, that frustrates me if anyone's saying that you don't understand how charging works.
It's the first time I had to actually block people from my channel. I've never had to do that before. And well, I won't say never. I have like 112 videos up. I might have blocked 10 people, you know, out of millions and millions of views. But this time I had to remove like 100 comments because they were wrong. Like, besides calling me a liar, I'd say call me a liar, I don't care. They were posting stuff like proving how I was wrong and how I was a fraud. And I don't want new people coming to the channel to see that and think, oh, wow, like this guy, you know, he's not credible. But there's one more thing I want to say, that how that the person proved that, you know, I was lying and that Lucid was lying and all the stuff was that, you know, he said that, you know, in Lucid's own EPA documents, here's another point where you can, a little information is dangerous. They state that, you know, the peak voltage is 924 volts and the amp hour, it's 150 amp hour batteries. Do the math. That's 138 kilowatt hour, you know, so they proved it themselves. Like, why isn't the SEC on them and everything? The problem is you can't use peak voltage when you're calculating the battery pack size. You use nominal voltage. And with the case of the Lucid Air, it's slightly under 800 volt is the nominal voltage. Do the math. 800 times 150 is 120, is 120 kilowatt hour. And it's slightly under 800. So there you go. The documents did prove it's 118 kilowatt hour battery, but you know, you can cherry pick information. You can prove anything if you just grab little bits and pieces of this and that, and then, you know, extrapolate on that if you don't know what you're talking about. And I don't know if he doesn't know what he's talking about or if he's really trying to misinform the people. But anyway, you know, enough harping on that. I thought the Lucid Air charged really fantastically. I'm gonna put a video together. It's going to take me a little while because I'm going to be going on vacation soon, where really deep dive Model S Plaid, Porsche Taycan, Lucid Air. I've done 0 to 100% charging on these three vehicles like within 10 days of each other. So I've got fresh data. I got really good, clean charging data on the Taycan and the Model S Plaid. So we're gonna make a bunch of charts and graph, talk about how many kilowatt hours are pumped in, miles per, you know, all that stuff, and that's coming up soon.
Sweet. Hey, you also had a video up this week, Tom, about the Cadillac Lyriq. You had a good first look. You got to crawl inside of it and everything.
Yeah. That, unfortunately, I've had that in the can for a while. I just hadn't been able to edit it. But when the New York Auto Show was canceled, Cadillac had brought the Lyriq in, and you know, they canceled it like 5 days before the show. So all the manufacturers had their stuff there. So they called me up and they're like, look, you know, you can't drive it, but we got it here. Do you want to come take a look at it? You know, for maybe a half an hour, you could walk around it or whatever. So yeah, I did a walk around, did a quick video. You know, to be honest with you, I mean, not to not sell my video, nothing new was learned. Let's put that straight. I didn't find out any new information about the car. Nothing was grabbed. That's why I wasn't in a rush to edit this and get it out, but it gives you a nice view of the vehicle. I liked what I saw. The interior is beautiful. Cadillac, people that like Cadillacs are going to love it. The value is there, in my opinion. $59,900 is the debut edition, and you get everything you see in my video is included for $59,900, except for the wheels. Those wheels are the optional 22-inch wheels that come standard with 20-inch wheels. That kind of looks similar to that. But you think about the value. It's got a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. GM says it's going to be EPA range rated at more than 300 miles. It costs less than a Model Y does today. Right. So, and you know, for you get so much more car, in my opinion. Now you don't get the Tesla charging network, and you know, which is important for a lot of people. It doesn't perform as well, and this is a rear wheel drive version. The Model Y is all wheel drive. That matters to some people. To a lot of people, it really doesn't matter. It depends where you live. So, you know, I think, you know, it might not be the sporty version. Like if you really want to, you know, it's not going to be as fast as a Model Y is what I'm saying. But this is, if you're thinking about getting a Model Y, this is definitely something I think you should take a look at it, because I thought it was really nice.
Right. And this comes to what, sometime second quarter of next year?
Yeah, second quarter of next year. They said before midway through 2022, these will be delivered, and then the rear-wheel drive version comes out at the end of the year. They haven't announced pricing for that yet, but they said fourth quarter of 2022 is when you'll get the all-wheel drive version. It charges at 190 kilowatt. That's the peak charging. I think, and God, I can't remember. I think GM said 200 miles of range in 37 minutes or something like that. Check the video in the article, tells you what it is there. But we need to do one of our, Kyle and I need to grab one of these and do our range recordings to figure all that stuff out.
Right. So not like groundbreaking charging speeds, but not terrible either.
No, listen, 190 is great. It depends on how long it holds it.
Right.
As Kyle mentioned earlier, the how long it holds the high charging rates is very important. So let's see. I mean, would we have liked to seen over 200 kilowatts? Sure, but you can accomplish very fast charging if you maintain a high rate for a long time. We don't know what the curve is going to look like. I mean, even Lucid literally told me if they reduce the charge rate down from 300 down to 240, 250, from like 0 to 80%, the timing would be just about the same. So, I mean, it's all about the curve, and we try to explain that, but it's complicated because it depends. When do you want me to plug in? Kyle said plug in at 20%. I will. Maybe some people want to see, well, I'd like to drive the car down to 10%. I'd like to see what it does.
We already have
10 to 50.
So the idea is we just want to know how long theoretically the car can hold the peak for. So we know between this window, that's never going to change. You're always going to get peak there. So then you plug in where that starts, then we'll see how long it
starts ramping down and see how it holds. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Hopefully I could do that in a couple of weeks.
Can I talk to the marketing side of this as well, and just perhaps offer that perspective that is a new startup, albeit with a ton of cash thanks to their listing? No, they're not a small car company, but they are a small manufacturer at the moment. They need some pegs to hang certain things on, some labels. And, we saw this at its most cynical when they came out and said whatever it was, like 520 or 518 or 519 miles, all those months and years ago now. And the next day, Elon Musk came out and said, well, we're going to launch a Model S Plaid Plus with 1,001, whatever it was, 1,100 horsepower and 520 plus miles. And then, sometime later said, oh, yeah, well, yeah, we can't actually make that car. Besides, the current one's good enough, so let's forget I ever said that. Because that's the first time that Tesla had been trumped in terms of, because Tesla has always won on all those metrics before. So I think Lucid, in needing to get attention, as it were, needs just a few things. Like the 520 miles, without question, is a huge reason for people to know that company. But also, they could have gone to 250 on the charge curve and just hung it right out there. But that doesn't create headlines. So I'm not saying they did it for the headline reason. I'm just saying that I like the fact that they've set a new benchmark for the industry, because it gives journalists and fans a thing. If you are going to be tribal about it, like a sports fan would be with their team, then at the minute, if you're in the Lucid tribe, you've got a couple of really big metrics that no one in the industry can get anywhere near. So I like it for that reason as well. I'm sure it wasn't part of their decision-making process. Maybe it was, I don't know.
I think it probably would have, a little bit part of it. Well, switching back to Lyriq, Brad Cook's asking, will the Lyriq be the first with Ultium battery? No, it'll be the second. The Hummer EV is going to beat the Lyriq to market by a little bit. So we're gonna get Hummer EV deliveries before the end of this year. So the Hummer is going to actually be the first with the Ultium, and then we're going to see the Lyriq be the second vehicle.
And I do have actually the Hummer story in my list of stories, so we could talk about that right now if you want. We had a little call with GMC, I guess, on that a few days ago. And yeah, they're going to be starting deliveries this year, or at the very end of the year, or maybe it'll be the first of next year. They're building them anyway.
They claim by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they've been claiming that. I mean,
That's right.
They said that to me when I did the first drive. So
Right. Everything's on schedule. Like they had the grand opening of the Factory Zero last week when they had the president there launching one of these things. I think it was in the WTF mode, Watch to Freedom mode, and like launching like legit hard launched the 3-second deal. That looked great, and it got a lot of attention. They got a lot of new orders actually. That a little bit of press. They've got. I think they said all except for the original launch month, they got more pre-orders than any other month, previously, just in this like last week or so.
Take a look at that DC fast charger just hanging from that blue cable. That is so cool.
Right. Got to charge them up somehow. Hey,
Yeah,
Tom, when you had that call with them, did they give any indication of if they deliver a vehicle this year, like what cohort will that be? Will it be one of 10, one of 100, one of 1,000? Did they give any indication on scale?
It's the EV edition 1. So I'm not sure. For some reason I'm thinking there's like 1,500, but I don't know why I'm thinking that.
Okay, maybe they could deliver one vehicle and technically stay true to their word.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be close, but they didn't reveal the number of edition 1 units.
Tom, you didn't hear that number from a dealer or something at some time, did you? I can't hear you.
No, I hadn't.
Okay, maybe
they specifically said they weren't going to talk about the number, but they said it's going to be in rarity and that the early owners should be like confident that they're getting a rare unit. Everyone that ordered one will get one, but it didn't sound like there were that many compared to, full series production of the non-special edition models.
And these all have the what is it, extreme package? So they have like 35-inch wheels and big skid plates.
You can get in one thing. It's got all the off-road. It's got all the comfort, all the luxury, all the options, all the weight.
It's got none of the it's got none of the efficiency. So it's got 329 miles of range, which is still pretty good.
We don't know the efficiency because we haven't tested it. I mean, again, we don't know. I don't even think they've released if that's 2-cycle or 5-cycle EPA. So we'll have to test it. We really don't know.
Right. I mean, but we can look at what they've done with like the GM's done with the like Bolt and Chevy Volt EPA numbers before. They were kind of sort of in that ballpark, pretty close, I think, right?
It just depends on the test that we run them in. So I mean, I'd say they're always fairly, 10-15% off on the highway from EPA average to the end highway, something like that.
So what I was saying by having none of the efficiency, there's going to be later models of this after this comes out on like smaller tires without as much weight that it will get more miles. I think they mentioned like a 350-mile range before, and I think we'll see that on different editions. Basically,
yeah. But if you're getting a Hummer EV, just get the Max 1. Just go for it. Go crack rock everywhere and articulate your suspension and take it to Moab. And that's the stuff I can't wait for. Is this versus Rivian in Moab on the trails I love so well, and actually taking them out to see where their capabilities lie. The truck itself so much beefier than a Rivian. A Rivian's pretty slim and like nimble.
Right.
So this is a totally
two different things. Yeah.
This thing's meant to drive through walls.
Honestly. That's what I'm
9,000 pounds, 1,000 horsepower. Like the thing is nuts. And I've driven it and it felt like it wanted to drive through a wall. Like, I mean, imagine driving
a wall
that goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. It feels like you're driving a tank. You can feel the weight. You can feel the width. It just like, it was, I mean, we talked about this before. There's a video of me just laughing as we're launching. I couldn't help myself. I was just dying laughing as we were doing these Watts to Freedom launches because it just felt different than any other electric vehicle. It felt like I was in a freaking tank. And the thing is like, a tank that accelerates like a jet fighter off an aircraft carrier. Like it was crazy. So people are going to have a lot of fun with these.
Hey, by the way, Kyle, your Rivian video, I love that Rivian invited you to go and drive an R1T. You did say in it that if anyone has one, reach out to you. Tell me someone's emailed you by now and said, come and drive my truck.
No one that has one currently. Yeah. But, Rivian has promised that I'll be able to get to do my testing with it soon, but everyone says soon, and then that doesn't mean anything. So we'll see. We'll see how that.
Give this man a date. I need a date. I work for this.
I'm not going to push him for it. We're such a small, fish compared to some of these bigger media outlets that need the trucks. We all are competing for the same like 6 cars that they have in their fleet. I don't know the number, but it's not many. And so at the end of the day, we just need to realize we're small, low down on the list, and we'll get to it when we can. The nice thing is our coverage isn't really going to change. And our viewership really isn't going to change if we get to it tomorrow or if we get to it in a month from now or 2 months from now, because no one else is really doing this kind of testing. So, I can't wait to do it as soon as possible. But also I just realized, super lucky to be able to even drive one compared to so many outlets that haven't even had a chance to get up close with it. I've got, I just think that's, just thankful for what I've got.
Well, if anyone's watching this with a Rivian incoming, step 1, call your insurer. Step 2, give Kyle a call, and let him have a play, please.
Yeah, no worries one way or another. Even if you just want to share your ownership story, I'm cool with that too.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
A good friend of mine who I've mentioned before, who was a very early reservation holder, just got the email for his R1T April/May, they said.
Wow.
So and he's right here in New Jersey, really close to me. So, and he's told me, look, as soon as I get it, if you want it, have at it. So we should be able to get one pretty soon. I haven't received any type of email like that. I'm a Rivian R1T reservation holder, but I just did it in September. So I'm probably way back in the queue. Who knows when I'm going to get it? I'm thinking I'm going to get the F-150 Lightning somewhere around the May-June timeframe, because that's when they're talking about starting deliveries. And I know I'm at the front of that list because I reserved it like I kept refreshing my screen when reservations, and it was like reservations, boom, filled in my information, saved. So it was like a minute after reservations open. So I should be right at the front of the list for that. So hopefully I'll have mine right after he gets his R1T, and we'll be able to do some comparison videos and cool stuff like that.
Wasn't it this week? I think we heard that the R1S is going to be only coming out a little bit later than we hoped. Because I thought it was going to be like, by the end of the year.
It was meant to be shortly after, and
I thought it was 15 units by the end of the year they were going to produce.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. I don't have the actual story lined up here. I'm not very prepared this week. Excuse me, everybody.
Mate, you're on holiday. You don't need to be prepared. You're on vacation. I'm surprised you're here. I didn't make it last week. I was in a forest somewhere. With the R1S and the R1T, I just forget about the R1S. Forget about the R1T. Largely, they're going to make every Rivian van they can for Amazon before their buddy Jeff gives them a call and says, "Where are my Amazon vans, please?" So that's their priority. 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is.
I really think it is. I think the customers can wait. They got a really.
I mean, the
big
customers can. I mean, they will wait because it's. Yeah. But the R1S looks so good, and I can't wait for it.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. That's the one I have.
Yeah, I can't wait for Tom and Kyle to get hold of it and just show it. See what it can do.
It was always supposed to be a few months after the R1T.
Right. Shortly after.
R1T really isn't in serious volume production yet. They're making them, but they're trickling out. So I would think once that they really start, they have the manufacturer nailed down for that, and they're doing it in volume, then they jump onto the R1S. That would be my guess. But
I found the story here. It's so originally, I guess the reservation holders it was confirmed originally for January of 2022, and now they're pushed back to March and April of 2022. So a couple months delay. And the story is on Inside EVs. Rivian notifies R1S reservation holders of delivery delays, and a picture of it in a driveway. Is that the actual vehicle in the driveway, or is that a render? Because it looks a little different than I expected, because it's a black roof on the bluish, tealish kind of body. It looks really good. Anyway, yeah. But so speaking of Rivian, we learned that Ford has decided not to develop the car that they're going to do with Rivian on the the Rivian platform. Which I heard this news and I was like, oh man, that sucks. But then I thought about it a little bit more. Like 5 seconds later, I'm like,
have we mentioned your little microphone yet?
It's like so cool. I can't believe we've got an hour in and we haven't mentioned it.
It was like a Christmas present last year. Yeah. It's like some karaoke app came with it or something. Yeah, I don't know.
I love everything about that. That's great.
What was I saying now? Oh yeah, so right. So I was like, I tweeted out my frustration really quickly, and then like 5 seconds later, oh wait a second, this probably means like Ford is going to go all in and do this proper then, and have like a universal platform like Volkswagen, like Hyundai does, like this, like GMC sort of has with their Ultium components and batteries. So it just kind of actually reassures me of Ford's commitment, I think, to its a more focused plan, to electrify their lineup. I don't know. What you take away from this?
I agree with that 100%. And the reason why I believe it's true is I remember when I was at the Mach-E launch a couple of years ago, they talked about what brought them to making the Mach-E, and that initially the Mach-E was this crossover that they admitted was for compliance. It was a compliance car. We were making it because we needed to hit our numbers. We knew electrification was coming, but we didn't know when. We thought it was still a little bit down the road. So I think they made the deal with Rivian thinking that, listen, we're not going to invest a lot of money in this right now. Why don't we just, use their technology, and then in 2030 or whatever, when we really need to get serious about this, then we'll do our own in-house stuff. And then, as they told me, as they're developing this car, I forget what the name of it was, this SUV. We even saw like sketches of what it was going to look like. They had meetings, and they were following the market, and they said, look, we're wrong. This is going to happen faster than we thought, and we need to get serious about this. And we're not making this compliance car. We're going to go all in, and we're going to make an electric Mustang, and we're going to pivot, and then it's going to be electric Transit. It's going to be electric F-150. We're electrifying the whole lineup. So it kind of makes sense that maybe early on they thought it would be less expensive for them to share technology with another company. But once they got to the point where they said, look, we need to electrify the entire brand, it's better off doing it in-house, in my opinion, because Ford's got engineers, they've got people to do this. They can do this. If it's going to take them a little bit longer, but they feel, I would imagine they feel that they can do something better than anybody else, and we'll see if they can. We'll see if they can't. So that's how I think it went down.
Actually, I want to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But first, Martin, we'd like to hear a little word from our sponsor.
Yeah, thank you so much to one of our podcast sponsors today. They have been for the last few weeks, actually, and that is the team at Holley. Now, Hallebrand's line of hyperkinetic HP003 aluminium wheels, I should say aluminum, shouldn't I? Wheels, for Tesla Model 3s 2017 up to today versions. They bring serious performance to the table. Wheel dimensions have been specifically tailored for wider fitments that provide more grip without the nuisance of rubbing. Now, if you're interested, wheels are available in silver and anthracite finishes, and thanks to a specialized flow forming process, these wheels are up to 5 pounds lighter than a factory wheel. If you are serious about your wheels, check out the details. You can go to holley.com, go to the brands, check out the Hallebrand section of that. Go to hallebrand.com today if you want to as well, and we thank our sponsors so much for helping us bring this podcast to you for free.
Awesome. Hey, so Tom, that change in thinking, did that come with a new CEO, Jim Farley?
Yeah, it was right around the time that he got involved. I don't know the timeline, but it seems like it was right around the time. But judging from the what I talked to the Ford people at the Mach-E launch, I don't think it came from the CEO down. I could be wrong. It sounded like the team came to the conclusion that, look, we need to do this. And then they brought it to management. Management said, okay, if that's how you feel, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And that's how it happened. But, sometimes things get lost when the story is being retold. So we don't know exactly what happened, but it sounds to me like that's along those lines. They early on, they still thought they were in the compliance phase. And they pivoted.
That was my original problem with Ford's approach. It was like the scattergun thing. They had, the Transit, they had the Mach-E on their platform. Then they're going to build a car with Volkswagen on the MEB. Then they got a Lincoln and a Ford on the Rivian. And it's like, I don't know how serious you are if you just like this, all over the place. There's like no focus on developing your own IP, and that's like really important in this game. I think it's having your own, intellectual property, your own, platform, basically, your battery tech. You need some special sauce to differentiate yourself from the others, to have some competitive edge.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think of this, Kyle?
Yeah, I can't wait to see more Ford electric cars in general. Look, I don't know about all the inner working stuff. Luckily, Tom and I get to talk to a lot of people behind the scenes, but they don't really share, all of these details. But I will say, just on the face of things, Ford is presenting their electric vehicles up front at every event. They're pushing it really hard. You never hear them talking about their, new Mustang Mach-1 with the Coyote V8, but then you get the good manual transmission out of the GT350 because that would be huge news if it was electric. But they just did that. They still make great combustion cars, but everything's focused on electric. We walked up to their auto show in Los Angeles, the big auto show, and they have a Ford GT, one of the best cars on the planet. Really cool. I mean, that's their supercar, if you will, stuffed in a corner on the side, and then F-150 Lightning on the turntable with a big display. And they have Mustang Mach-E's doing launches, so everyone gets to experience the acceleration. Ford's really just right up front, presenting their EVs first, going all in, similar to Volkswagen, actually, doing this with ID4. Right. And then we went to GM booth. I don't know if we talked about this, but it's still just amazing to me how we went to GM and there was literally not one hybrid or electric or anything.
Right. They didn't have the Chevy. I mean, that was a Chevrolet display, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't say all of GM, just Chevrolet.
But they didn't have a
anything
Bolt
on there. No, well, no, because they can't bring them inside. They catch on fire.
Well, so I had that on my list.
That's me being sarcastic. It's not like a big deal. Sorry.
No,
but
it's okay.
I know you get comments about it. It's fun to joke about.
But it's good that you bring that up because I did have this on my list and I wanted to mention it really quick, at least before we ended the show. So there's a Chevy Bolt software update that limits the charge to 80%, but they also drop all the restrictions about not parking inside. So even if you haven't had your battery replaced yet, I think that there's a software update that you can have that should take away your safety concerns until you have the actual swap done, and that's an ongoing thing now. But I think they've stopped making them again for a while, so I can see why they wouldn't necessarily have them on display. But yeah, Chevrolet needs to get their electric pickup truck, something electric to talk about, man. Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even have a poster. The best thing they had were phone chargers off in the corner.
Yeah, GM should have had a Hummer EV or a Lyriq. I mean,
GMC wasn't there and Cadillac wasn't there, so they couldn't.
It was a Chevrolet.
It was just a Chevrolet booth. Okay,
yeah.
I thought it was a whole GM area.
No, it was just Chevrolet, but Silverado EV. Yeah. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm not. That's fine, but don't tout yourself and don't have other people just be. You're leading it. You're doing the thing, the pressure's on, and then they didn't show up to the largest auto show of this year, at least anything electric. They did have the new Z06 Corvette C8, which looked awesome. So I was all into that. So it's not like they didn't have cool stuff. They just didn't have cool stuff that's also silent. So, big miss, I thought.
In this picture that they've sent us to put online of someone happily plugging in their Chevy Bolt because it's now very safe, you can tell the guy's not been driving his car because he spent all of his free time organizing his freaking garage. Who lives in a place like that? Like my spade, shovel, and rake, my bikes are in a shed. I haven't got shelves that organize stuff. It's chaos. Who lives in a house like this? Nobody. Well, maybe all Chevy Bolt owners do. I'm not in America, so maybe you all live like this.
Did you get the Ampera E in the UK?
Yeah, we used to. That's I see maybe one a month.
Really? They're pretty rare.
Yeah,
then.
What a shame.
Were they right-hand drive?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
sold as a Vauxhall, not Opel as well. So branded for the UK market with with a Vauxhall badge on. Yeah, I think somebody had one around here where I live, because I don't see it as much anymore, but I used to see it in the supermarket car park occasionally, and always just thought, man, that was such a missed opportunity, and, well, internal workings of the car industry, sadly. But yeah, so we did get it.
So John Check just asked, Tom, did you ever get that CCS adapter? And he's talking about the Tesla CCS adapter. No, I haven't, but I did get another adapter. If you take a look over my shoulder here, there's two of those adapters that had been on the market for a while. C-Tech came out with one for a while ago, and I did a review on it, and it worked. It, at least while I had it, it worked. But then EVgo made supposedly did a software update that wouldn't allow it to be used on its charging stations. And then Tesla even said they were going to send out a software update that was going to make it so you couldn't use it on their network at all, or they want to sell you their adapter. But now Electron bought the rights to that adapter from C-Tech. So Electron sold me another one. So while they look the same, one's a C-Tech, one's Electron. Just got the Electron a couple of days ago. So I went out and tried it on a Blink station and an EVgo station yesterday on Thanksgiving. I wasn't close enough to ElectraMeccanica, so I couldn't try it. It didn't work on either one. So I'm guessing Tesla has done a software update that won't, it senses it's the adapter and won't allow the car to charge. I'm going to try it on ElectraMeccanica probably today, and then put out a short video showing me, trying to use it, and hopefully it'll work today. But I'm thinking it's not gonna. I think they Tesla sent out some kind of software update that recognizes the adapters there and doesn't let the car to charge.
Wow, that's how much do they charge for those adapters that don't work?
I haven't checked. It was expensive before. It was like $650 the last I checked. They reached out to me, Electron, and just said, look, we have the rights to this thing now. Do you want one? And I said, well, I have the C-Tech one. And they said, well, we've updated the software. We've made some improvements. Do you want one? And I said, yeah, if you want to send it to me, I'll do a video of me charging my car as long as it charges. And so far, no go on EVgo and Blink. And both times it connected, it began charging, and then like in 10 seconds, the car stopped charging. So I'm guessing that means it's the Tesla telling it no, because the station recognized, activated the session, started charging the car, and then all of a sudden you get that red Tesla light, in the charge port. So I'm thinking the car is saying, no, I don't want juice from you.
Man, that's gonna be rough for a company to invest in something like that. And well, maybe they can figure it out. I don't know, or work something out with Tesla to allow it. I don't know, but I guess we'll have to find out.
Why would Tesla allow that? Tesla wants to sell you their adapter. Why would they allow a third party to sell it?
That's probably a good point.
They want to control the whole ecosystem. Quite honestly, the Tesla adapter is a lot more compact and sleeker. This thing's really big and clunky. I mean, look at the size of it. I mean, if it works, people will deal with that. I mean, they deal with the clunky CCS and CHAdeMO adapters right now. So I mean, connectors. So I'm sure people will use it if it works, but it's got to work. And Tesla owns everything, the software. So if they don't want you to use something else, it's simple software update, you can't use it.
You don't have the Tesla one handy there, do you?
No, I've been trying to get one. It's only available in South Korea right now. I told you a few weeks ago I ordered it, and then they canceled my order. I'm still saying, hey, if anybody out there lives in South Korea or knows somebody, pick one up for me. I promise you, I'll pay you.
So I heard the South Korean adapter doesn't work in the US.
Right, that's what I heard also, but I'm willing to pay for it and give it a try, because from what I also heard from some other people is that, Kyle, it might work on 21 and newer or 20 and newer Model 3s, but on the older ones, it doesn't. So I have a new Model 3. So, hey, I'll throw the $250 down and see if it works, and if it doesn't, then I've got something else to just put in the background when I'm doing podcasts. So,
hey, so this is kind of neat. So Kia has just debuted its new Niro EV, the second generation, in South Korea at the Seoul Mobility Show. It's so it's all new inside and out, but I think it's on like the original platform still. But it looks like quite different. I don't know. I kind of dig this design. This is like so much better than the original Niro, which is kind of like one of those anonymous ones for me. And like that C pillar at the back, it's just great. I don't. Kyle, have you had a chance to see this?
Yeah, it looks great. Styling wise, I think Kia's nailing it across the board. And look, it's a little funky, but I'm okay with that. To me, it reminds me of a lot of the new Sportage that was just debuted. And so overall, these are some great looking cars, and they're very popular here in Colorado. There are Niro EVs everywhere, mostly for Lyft usage. I think Lyft bought 300 or 400. I don't know the number, but a ton of them. So every time I go to Denver, I see them driving around, or every time I go to an Electrify America station, I see them charging up. And I haven't looked into the specs on this, but styling wise, it's not my forte to evaluate styling, but I really like the front of it.
Right. Yeah. Well, your opinion is all we need, man. I think the performance is probably going to be very similar to the original one. So I was trying to look those exact numbers up right away. But Tom, do you remember what kind of range this thing gets offhand?
No, Dom. Unfortunately, I don't. I actually missed this whole thing. Really, I had to do a quick research on it this morning. I've been traveling. I just got home 2 days ago, and then it was Thanksgiving. So no, I like it though. My opinion, likewise, I think it's really cool. I definitely love what Kia is doing with their electric vehicle program.
Yeah, but this isn't 800 volt, not eGMP. This is still legacy stuff. Stuffed in the new style, which is fine, because if you want the big technically advanced EV6, you're going to pay for it. I don't think those cars are going to be cheap. They haven't announced US pricing for EV6 Ioniq 5, but I think they're going to be big dollars compared to what their current electric offerings are. So this is a good stepping stone into an everyday electric car with solid range, proven electrical system on Niros. And so I think that's a great entry step. And if you're a nerd and want to charge from 0 to 50% in 10 minutes, then just spend the big money, get the all-wheel drive, really good handling EV6, and that's going to be the move. You'll have options. That's all we need.
I think for a lot of people, they thought that EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5 would be the death of, Niro and Kona. And what's interesting is quite the opposite. They're actually bringing out a refreshed model of those. It'll be interesting, the price points, as to Kyle's point, not only of where you get EV6, because we've got our pricing over here for those, but where they bring these cars in with. So how close can they get the plug-in hybrid version and the electric version of the Niro and the Kona, if that comes with another refresh? It may not in the US. How close can they bring them to the combustion versions? There's traditionally been quite a large gap, but that's mainly because the ICE versions of those cars were actually a really good value. So if they can keep these cars going, churning them out of the factory with the 64 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that's going to be 260 miles, maybe 270 miles.
I think it's going to be less than that. I think it was high 230s, if I remember.
Yeah, I think it's 235.
When you did your 70 mile an hour range tests,
I think it was like 220, 230, something like that.
I was surprised how low it was, because that didn't reflect my experience with the new Kona that I had, the refresh one. But I couldn't do a pure 70 mile an hour range test because it was in the summer and it was busy, and I kept slowing down to 60, and it was
the nice thing of living in the middle of nowhere. I can go into Wyoming and into Nebraska and just literally see 3 cars over the course of 3 hours.
And I did like 280 miles, 280. I think it was 283. But I was slowing down behind.
That car. My dad owned some Konas back in the day, a few of them, and he was consistently getting over 300 miles on a full charge on the Guessometer. That based off of his commuting traffic. And they do really well in low speed situations. Mm-hmm. Tom can attest to this. Hyundai Kia products just in general are extremely efficient, at least on their current systems, from Ioniq to Niro to Kona Electric. The big question is going to be, how are these eGMP cars in terms of efficiency? And at first glance, not nearly as good as these older ones. Which is really odd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think these originally were like 235 miles EPA, I believe. And but it's like on the same platform as an electric as a hybrid version, as a gasoline version. So it's, I don't know.
Was it 235 or 239, Dom? I thought it was 239.
I saw 235 here earlier, but I'm not sure if it changed with the refresh or not.
But the most impressive thing about this car was that it's an adaptable chassis for different powertrain types, and it's so efficient. Mm-hmm. That was the coolest thing.
Right, and we have some good ownership community on the Inside EVs forum, and they regularly report over 300 miles. I think the Kona does a little bit better than the Niro because it's a little bit lighter, a little shorter.
Yep.
But yeah, this does pretty well, and I think for this generation, like this all new one, they got a lot of the teething pains worked out with the drivetrain because originally they had they're replacing a lot of like motors and drivetrain. There were some issues and the batteries as well. There was so yeah, all that's hopefully out of the way, and now I think we have a good looking and relatively affordable. We don't know the price exactly yet for this version, I don't think, but I expect it to be I don't know, below 30 with all the incentives. Sound about right?
It's gonna be an awesome car.
Yeah. All right. So what else are we going to talk about?
Well, there's one thing someone had just brought up in the comments, which was, did we talk about the Fisker Ocean? And we have not this episode yet talked about the Fisker Ocean. I don't think we talked about it last episode either. But
last week, yeah. We talked a little bit last week.
Sorry. I have a terrible memory. Yeah.
That's a big night last night.
Big night for you last night, was it?
No, I just can't remember much anyway. But I guess
Scotch or bourbon?
Ocean, got to see it. I guess watch the last episode for our thoughts.
There you go.
I mean, I think we heard about it a little bit this week too. I think Fisker was Henrik Fisker was tweeting that they're starting production a little sooner than later because Magna's building it for them, and they have a lot of experience already building these cars, and everything's already in place to build the cars, and that they're coming very soon. I forget the exact timing, but
they won't tell you anything about the car.
Yeah,
sadly. But it's nice of them to build a Volvo XC40 with a Fisker badge. So
yep,
it looks pretty good.
It looks like
it does look, but that's because the XC40 is one of the best looking cars in that segment. So
we just need a bigger electric Volvo because 40 is a little small for our lifestyle, and we're big Volvo nerds here at this house, and so we kind of want an XC90 sized vehicle to be electric, and so that's the R1S Rivian, and so the only reason I haven't put in an order on a Rivian yet is because it's going to take so long. I'll just buy a used one or swoop in on someone or something like that because it's going to be like 2 years to get a Rivian at this point,
at least.
Man.
But
then
so I'm not
sometimes
put a reservation in on that. Someone will buy it, drive it, have fun, want to sell it, and we'll go then.
But the Fisker is interesting, and to Kyle's point again about they won't tell us more about the vehicle, and if you are in the market for an XC90 all-electric, because there is an all-electric XC90 coming, whether or not Volvo have said it publicly or not, I don't know.
I think they have. It's in the
I
plans.
think they have. I think I can say it. They have. If they haven't, it's coming, right? So if you're in the market for that vehicle and you're a Volvo fan, and I think their styling is on point right now, and they've got some work to do on efficiency and drivetrains, I accept all of that. But what are you going to do? Buy one of those or buy a Fisker? Again, I'm not saying you wouldn't buy the Fisker, but there's got to be a reason or a pull away from a brand that you're into, and that's where some of the startups have got that advantage in terms of coming with a fresh brand. But the Volvo brand is really good. They just need to electrify it now and make great cars. So 100%. I don't think they're running away from anything. Like some of the OEMs are kind of running away from problems or bad images. But an XC90 or even like a Rivian R1S versus a Fisker, well, I don't want to talk down the Fisker because this might be a fabulous car, but like to my point earlier about Lucid, winning on range, winning on charge speed. Like, no, this doesn't have to be a game of EV top trumps. Of course it doesn't. But they need to tell us more about that vehicle. Otherwise, it just won't generate any real traction with people that are in the market for that vehicle.
I think Fisker's,
I might be wrong.
I think Fisker's got a lot of attention because it has a low price point, and plus, the design. The design is pretty nice, inside and out.
Gorgeous.
Right, that's his forte. He's a designer, right?
He's always been a great designer, but let's see how well the cars are built and put together.
Right, it's Magna, so
that's a huge well.
Hey, they make a G-Wagon, nothing better than that.
Yeah.
So
so Magna are going to make a great car.
Dominic is currently dying.
Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry. Right after the show last week, I came down with strep throat, and I'm just still recovering.
Oh, man.
Before we end the show, we should talk about this Polestar 5. They've previewed it finally. This was the Precept concept, or Precept concept originally, and now it's the Polestar 5 electric sedan that's going to be coming for sale in 2024. So they're just teasing us a bit with the design, and it just looks so good. I don't know. You can show us a little bit of that, Martin. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go. Can I go on a bit?
So yeah, I need to mute my mic for a second. So
okay, just go on. Can you please mute if you're going to die? It looks stunning, doesn't it?
That's a good quote right there. Just mute if you're going to die.
I'm sorry, Dom. Yeah, look, that car looks great, and strange picture. I've just got some.
Who shot the pictures for this, by the way? Because they're all terrible.
Right. And this is like they're like.
To understand who that is, by the way.
I think that's one of the designers. I met him. in Germany, but I can't remember his name.
I can't.
Oh, there you go, Max.
My screen's small. It looks like he was giving a finger.
Head of design. So
yeah.
Timon and Chris Rifa shot a whole video with him on the Precept concept. Awesome dude. They say like this guy is like legendary. So cool. I didn't get to spend that much time with him, but overall, just show us the car, please.
Yes.
Anyway, looks really good. I'm all about it. You guys know I'm a fan of the Polestar brand in general. The only thing that drives me nuts is you walk into their showrooms. We have a beautiful one here in Denver, and they're building a massive one, and they're like, Polestar, we have no heritage. And it's like, yes, you do. Stop saying that. So at the end of the day, cool designs, but you do have heritage and lay into it.
You know, I love
that.
Yes, it says that. Kyle's mentioned that before. Yeah, we have no heritage. That's their slogan.
It's the one thing I think of every time, and I'm like, you were literally made Volvos awesome, and you made fast wagons, and then the blue badge on the back, and all the optimization work you did on the SPA chassis, and then making the best versions of the newer Volvos. But yeah, no heritage at all.
That's crazy. I like how it looks, but I think it looks like what would have happened if an Audi R8 had sex with a Lightyear 1.
There we go.
If we could pull up the Lightyear 1, probably not. I should have told Martin about that. But if you look at the side view, it really looks like the Lightyear 1, that solar car that's supposedly going to launch this year, 2022. I got a chance to take a look at it at CES, I think 2 years ago, like CES 2020, right before COVID started. I actually got to shoot a video around it, and it really looks to me, especially that the side view and the hood looks so much like that Lightyear 1. There you go.
Oh yeah, it's got that fastback.
That's ugly. That's like loser car of the year right there. Sorry.
Really? I think. I don't know. If you like efficiency, if you're like efficiency nerd and you look at that, that's a thing of beauty. I don't know.
No, you know what's cool was that Volkswagen. What was the little
XL1?
The XL1. Thank you. That's cool and efficient.
I drove in that.
No way, really?
Yeah.
That's a life goal to go in that vehicle.
Yeah.
Was it comfortable, Tom?
No, not at all.
No,
it's tiny.
Absolutely
the seats
not.
are offset. You're really cramped. The whole thing. It was just an exercise in what we could do. They never intended on really making many of them. I think they made 150 of them or something like that. Yeah, and it's so small inside. They couldn't put the seats side by side because it's not wide enough. So they had to offset them.
So they're offset seats.
Yeah, and the version that I had like a small diesel engine, and there was no soundproofing, so it was super loud. It rattled, it shook. It was like it was just like a whole proof of concept thing.
It was like $100,000.
I think it was more than that. I think they made 150 of them, and they did sell them. Not in the U.S. though. You couldn't bring it over here in the U.S.
Right.
I love the fact that they did that. Volkswagen, it kind of like I like when car companies step out of their comfort zone and just do exercises and look what we could do, and because they learn things and it helps advance their product lines. But the version I was in, it was like obviously pre-production, had no soundproofing. It was rattling. We were bouncing around the roads in LA. We were driving around in LA, And I was like, I came out genuinely unimpressed. And back then, I really wasn't writing for Inside EVs much. I was writing for a couple other electric vehicle websites. And I remember I commented about how like it was very unimpressive to me. And Eric Loveday of Inside EVs like jumped on my comments, was like, dude, like, don't you understand? Like, it's not about comfort. It's not about this. It's about, you know, it was pretty funny. He and I got into a little back and forth. This was like, God, I don't even know how many years ago, maybe 2013-ish, somewhere around there, almost 10 years ago.
Stone Age, practically. Yeah. So I don't know if we want to say anything more about the precept. What is it? Polestar 5?
No, but you know what I really want to see is Polestar 2 optimized, software optimized for performance. Juice the rear motor a bit. That's all it needs. Let me turn ESP fully off. Now we have a serious car.
I mean, they've been improving that car, right, with over-the-air updates since it came out.
Yeah, but remember that Goodwood thing that I was kind of down on because I said they would never make it, and then they still have never made it. But that would be. Do you remember that car? I was going through Polestar's media site yesterday for another project, and I saw that, and I'm like, oh, that's what I want. Just make that. And they had juiced the rear motor. They had done everything I wanted. So they know what they need to do. Just hit the go button, people.
Did they say they were going to make it?
No, I think they said, I think they did say they were not making that series production. It was more of an extra technical exercise.
Right. But maybe they should make a few. Like, how hard
make a few and make
pay premium or charge a premium?
Grand, whatever it is. Yeah. They'll hold their value for all the weird nerds.
Right. Build some heritage. I hear they need some.
Oh, yeah, I guess they have none.
Was the word heritage or history, Kyle? I forgot. You saw it. I didn't.
Yeah, it may be history. It was something like basically they're new and fresh.
You definitely should have taken a picture of that, or
I have
quick
one
video in front
on another phone somewhere. Yeah.
All right. Before we go,
in the sophisticated studios of Out of Spec.
well, yeah. So this is been a
hang on. Yeah, we've had lots of comments on the hurricane that blew through Colorado.
So I've only been here a few days for like the last few months, but we're in the process of moving spaces to a nice, legit spot. So yeah, there's been no real incentive to get this in order, just because we are going across town for the office.
So you're saying the majestic halls of what's your Out of Spec Studios is about to become more majestic even?
Oh, we have, I think it's possible. We'll see. But
Mark, do me a favor, pull Kyle's up on the screen again. Okay. Take a look to the left. No, put your hands down. So everybody see that sign that says speed trap? This is how cool Kyle is. He made a sign. And when he sees speed traps where he lives, he goes out on the street and holds the sign up so people coming down the road know there's a speed trap coming up.
I'm not a very political person, right? I stay out of politics entirely, but something with me when they put a camera-based system in a Jeep Wrangler, a Jeep Grand Cherokee parked on the street like a street parked car, and if you go like 3 miles an hour past them, they take a picture and mail you a ticket. To me, that's just wrong. So really disappointed there. What we've started to do now is to back the Sprinter in so close behind them that they can no longer see the cars, and then they have to leave. So whenever we see them, we need 2 big vehicles, so then they physically won't be able to get out of the spot. It's just, if you want to see Kyle infuriated, I go by, flip them off every time. It's really annoying that they park those things on the street, because it's not like having people slow down. People have no idea they just got a ticket. All you're doing is making money. You're not making the streets safer. It's really bad.
That was one of the first TikTok I saw Kyle make was you standing about 200 meters down the road from one of these, just waving the board, and people were like, motorists were thanking you, being like, "Yes, mate, thank you so much."
Oh yeah, everyone in town hates them. This is the only bad thing about living in Fort Collins, Colorado, are these speed camera vehicles.
Now we have loads of them over here. There's a bit of a TikTok sort of internet meme that people do where they film themselves sneaking up behind one, and they just put their smartphone through the back window that's open, and they let off an air horn or like kind of a bullhorn thing, and you just see the operator in the back, who I don't know is having a nap or reading his phone, just like jump out of his chair, and then people run away. I'm sure that's not the nicest thing to do to a guy just trying to do a job and earn a living, but it is kind of funny.
It's just like, so they need a person in there as a witness in the US. So they have to sit in there. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
You
at
have to
the
have
end of the
somebody
day,
in.
they just sleep all day.
Yep.
So I have like a whole collection of photos of them sleeping in this thing because it's just crazy to me.
That's
We get them alive here.
I mean, it's a 0-point license. It does nothing for your insurance or driving record. It's just collecting money sitting there.
All right.
There you go.
Speeding is 0 points in Colorado?
No, for this particular situation. You don't get.
Oh, that's right, because it's not like a police officer, right, or something.
Yeah, you don't have like an accuser. No one's coming up to you and saying, I accuse you of doing this, and it's
j'accuse.
It's just they mail it to you, and then then you got to pay $50 or whatever it is. I don't know. I've never got one personally, but Alyssa got hit.
Oh, really? Oh, there.
Yeah.
Hey, before we end the show, I just wanted to say that the 2023 Porsche Macan Electric has been spied like a diamond in the rough, according to Motor1.com. And there's a lot of camouflage on it, but they got some spy shots, and you should trot over there and stick Macan in the search field, and it'll come up, and you can read about that. It's just one of those cars that I'm super excited about. It's on the Porsche Audi PPE platform, and it's going to be great.
Yep, Macan looks brilliant.
Yeah.
And will be a massive seller.
All right. So with that, I think that brings us to the end of our show. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them on the Inside of Ease Forum podcast thread or on our YouTube or Twitch comment sections. If you like the show, please give us a thumbs up. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget you can find and follow our panelists on Twitter. You can follow Tom Mologney at Tomolog, that's with 2 M's. Martin Lee is at EV News Daily. Kyle Connor is at It's Kyle Connor. And I'm at Dominic_Y. Click subscribe, and please tap that bell icon for notifications. And we'll see you all again next week. Ciao.